We're going to talk about med beds because Ileana is very much into healing, and any kind of insights that kind of come up, we're just going to roll with it. Ileana, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's nice to be back on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, you're amazing. The last time we were together in the Optimized Tribe, you just came up with some amazing stuff. I mean, you on your own, you're amazing. So you're with a whole group of us talking about some crazy stuff, and I felt like you actually stood out in several cases, especially the med beds. Being a healer, what do you see for med beds coming for us in the future?
Well, what I see is that right now there's the prototypes for the cancer treatments. It's kind of like MedBed 1.0. It's specifically for cancer for right now. And what it does is it doesn't do chemo. What it does is like laser radiation. So it targets, if you have a tumor, it targets the tumor cells specifically, but it doesn't damage the tissue and the cells around the tumor. And you only have to be in it for, I don't know, 4 hours instead of receiving chemo for 7 hours sitting in a chair with an IV in your vein, in your hand. So
yeah, chemo basically, you know, almost destroys the cell, all the cells, and the ones that survive are the winners. So the ones that are damaged already by the you know, cancer cells, and sometimes those survive because they're very, very healthy cancer cells feeding off of other cells. So this is fantastic, that something that can actually zero in on, you know, the damaged cells and really smoke them out. That's cool.
Yeah, and it shrinks the tumor and it removes the tumor. So it's not chemotherapy and it's not lethal radiation, because there's also radiation, but it's lethal. Yeah. And it really damages the organs in the body. It makes you tired, makes you weak. Mm-hmm. This MedBed 1.0, it is really like, it's in hospitals now. So it's being used now. It's in California and other places. So, and I did some research about it because I was seeing things on Facebook about it, but the company is different that makes it. So they're doing various trials to upgrade that. So that's the first evidence I see of med beds. I call them holographic medical pods because on Mars, in Planetary Corp, in the cybernetics labs, it actually cures all diseases. It regenerates body parts, and it can even bring you back from the dead. If you've been dead 14 to 20 hours, it could literally take the soul wherever it goes. It hasn't gone up to what we call heaven or the realms. It's still in the planetary state, still near the planet. Yeah. So the med bed can literally bring you back into the body.
Yeah. That's interesting because my memories that are starting to filter through from the Secret Space program, I have memories of being killed several times actually, and being in med beds like the tanks, with the water tanks and stuff like that, and feeling myself coming back into my body going, and it's like I feel that initial trauma, and then it's like I'm just like into that nice state as my body is you know, regenerated. You know, places I got to blast it off or whatever. So that's crazy. And my memories are, if they get you back and they start their process soon enough, your soul is almost like it's waiting. It's almost in a limbo state. And if they start their process like you're talking about, the soul will come back in. That's absolutely amazing to hear someone actually with really good memories like you do, like you have, talk about that, and it kind of matches some of the stuff that's coming through for me. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, the holographic medical pods, they run on plasma. So when you're in the cylinder, in the pod itself, there's plasma fields regenerating your body. So if somebody has cancer, the plasma is removing the cancer. If somebody's DNA has been degraded, you know, you have mutations, this regenerative medicine technology, it's called regenerative because it has on file your original DNA blueprint, the healthy DNA, because SSP, they take your DNA, the healthiest DNA they can, a sample of it. They
Mhm.
always have that on file, a fresh batch of it.
Mm.
So if you need to repair something on a cellular genetic level, they can just imprint that healthy DNA and through the holographic technology interface with the pod and build a new DNA template that's healthy without any mutations.
That's
So
fascinating.
yeah,
And
it
it
has
rings
that
true. It's
ability.
good. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we know that a lot of stuff is like that. Those types of technologies have been suppressed, unfortunately,
Yes.
but it's right on that verge, right on the cusp of really coming out in a big way. So where are you from? Are you from Australia originally, or where?
No, I'm from Ukraine,
Oh,
Russia.
Ukraine. Okay.
Yep.
That's
And
it.
then,
Mhm.
yeah, then I moved to Israel.
Wow.
Hmm.
And then you went to Canada.
Yes, yes. So I've my path in life has always been interesting. The countries actually that are associated with, I'm not going to say the word, but the elite states, you know,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't want to say the C word.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that's interesting. So how long and what are your memories of while you're in Ukraine?
So I was born there. I lived there until I was 6.
Mm,
So I was born in 1985. So I'm a like a rainbow crystal child.
nice.
And I've always had memories that I came from space, that I was remembered myself as Pleiadians, blonde Pleiadians, Nordics, um, from the age of 2. And I always told my Grandma, I remember being on different planets, different ships. And she's like, I don't know where you're getting this from because we didn't have TV in our apartment. We were poor.
Yeah.
Honestly, we were poor. We didn't have TV.
Right.
So all I had was books that she read me, children's books.
Oh.
That's all I ever had.
Hmm.
And she never talked to me about aliens. It was just something naturally I told her.
Yeah.
And I used to see UFOs, white UFO craft, when we would go to the park
Hmm.
or when we would go to our summer house, which is kind of like a dacha.
Hmm.
So we would grow vegetables and stuff, and I would always see UFOs flying overhead. And I'd tell my grandma and grandpa, look up in the sky, there's the UFOs. And my grandpa would say to me, don't look at them because you're attracting that energy. So
Hmm.
it's like, don't look at them, don't focus. This is not something you should know right now. So he was trying to protect me.
Ah. Hmm.
Yeah. I guess he just had a feeling that I was a little bit too young to know that yet.
Hmm.
But they were always with me. So, and I'd seen different ones as a child.
Interesting.
And I have memories of being abducted by reptilians as well.
Wow.
From the age of 2 to 10, a dark tunnel opening up in the apartment and being taken down somewhere in basis in Rostov. So that's near Ukraine, underground basis,
Okay.
where there were children in cages or shackled to the walls.
Hmm.
And these reptilians were 14 to 16 feet tall. One of them was black Drazo, so black reptilians with brick like faces.
Hmm.
And the other was called the Sharab Invictus reptilians, kind of greenish, yellow, sallow skin with an elongated face, sort of like a mantid between a reptilian and a mantid.
Interesting.
Um, and they were working with human personnel in underground bases.
Hmm.
So the human personnel were there watching what they were doing. I remember my blood being infused with nanite technology.
Hmm.
So something being injected into my vein and it going through my blood and it burning
Hmm.
and going all over my body and damaging my autoimmune system.
Hmm.
So, and I always had an association that black crows were following me through the tunnel systems or bats, like seeing so much dark stuff and
Yeah.
darkness
Hmm.
in the tunnels leading up to the base.
Interesting.
So those were my early memories. So that's the first thing that happened to me. And
Hmm.
um, when I was
Well, just
about,
just
yeah.
stop there a little bit.
Mhm.
Why do you think they took you and didn't keep you there? Was it because you're like a Pleiadian being with a little bit more high frequency, and they could only experiment on you? That's as far as they could take it. What do you feel on that?
Well, they were supposed to kill me. They were supposed to ruin my blood and they were supposed to completely damage my autoimmune system. But what they did was the nanite stuff infected me with a virus, which caused Hashimoto's encephalopathy. So when I was 4, I almost died from it in the hospital. I was paralyzed for 4 weeks with a
Wow.
high fever, and they couldn't figure out what virus it was. And what it was. But when I was older, I actually went and figured out that it was Hashimoto's encephalopathy because all the symptoms were that, and I'm on plasma treatments actually that help to stabilize my autoimmune system.
Interesting. So the Russians, Ukraine, whatever, they were using a little bit more high technology, I think, than the West uses. Is that you think that's what saved you?
No, it wasn't. The plasma treatments are now like they couldn't do anything for me in Ukraine at that time. I was really sick for 4 weeks, and then I got better, but I had brain damage and my math abilities were completely damaged. I can do basic math, but the rest of my brain is I'm very smart, and I'm good with genetics. I'm good with a lot of different things and healing.
Yeah.
So I think the purpose was by the reptilians to kill me, but it didn't work because I had a strong will to survive. I'm just a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So it did damage my body physically, but it didn't kill me. I survived because I didn't want to die. I have strong Pleiadian genetics,
Yeah.
so it protects me. And I also have L race genetics. So that kind of powerful genetics really protected me.
Excellent. Excellent. So it sounds like they were trying to like maybe take you out because maybe they saw at one point you're going to be part of the secret space program and so forth. You think maybe that's what it was?
Yeah, and they also didn't want me to do anything in this lifetime to contribute to anything good in this lifetime. So
Absolutely.
that was part of the purpose, to just remove me, and also so I wouldn't be on the life path that I am now. That's what
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
happened. Why?
Hmm. And I want to say your life path is absolutely amazing, and you've made some just comments about me that were like extremely accurate. I feel you saw me in you didn't know that I was in the SEAL teams when we were having
No.
our first meeting, and my wife told you, and so you saw that I was in Florida in underwater bases and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually was as in the SEAL teams. I did spend some time in Panama City, Florida, doing some uh, diving in a tank and stuff like that. So it's a possibility. I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to come forward for a lot of us that we were involved in, secret stuff here in the U.S. Because I used to
Mm-hmm.
see guys when I was in the SEAL teams, they would they get all excited. This was when I was in SEAL Team 6. They get uh, all excited, and it's almost like they went blank, and they got all their gear together. No one said anything to them because we knew they were getting ready to go do something. So they would leave. They'd be gone for a month or two. They come back, and it was like they never left, and no one ever asked them, where they went. So I think there's a lot of us that have done that kind of stuff, and we just get wiped. And so you're seeing, that's amazing. You saw underwater bases there.
Mm-hmm.
That would totally make sense because there is now one of the largest military special forces and Navy special forces groups in that area. So that would make sense, and I think that a lot of that stuff exists.
Yeah, and I even know the facility that I that's associated with that training, but I'm not going to name the facility because
Absolutely
it's
good.
I don't like because of safety and stuff. So I'm not going to name the
Yeah.
facility. I mean, we
Right.
talked about it in the background, but for safety reasons, I don't really in public speak about specific locations and
Mm,
specific facilities that are involved with the training.
yeah. I've actually experienced that. That if you expose something a little bit before they're ready to have that exposed, it can be detrimental to you. So
Well,
that's good.
yeah, and I don't want the facilities going after us as well when you mention
Right.
names. So
Yeah.
it's for
And
tactical
even protect
purposes.
that, protect people that may be involved in operations, stuff like that. Because there's stuff that I see as a remote viewer, and I'm sure you're aware of it too, that
Mhm.
I just don't talk about because it's not for me to talk about. And I know things, of course, I've been compartmentalized, um, uh, top secret and above type stuff, and you just don't talk about it because it's important that those guys that are involved in those still, can continue their work safely.
Yeah.
That's good. So Israel. So then you moved to Israel. That's very.
Yes.
What part of Israel were you in?
I was in Jerusalem, so
Ah,
I got to stand over King Solomon's temple,
mm,
and I felt the Ark of the Covenant. I just felt a pulsing from the ground. I
yeah,
just, I didn't realize what it was. Now that I'm older, I know what I was standing on top of, because
yeah,
there's one of the Arks of the Covenant, there's four of them.
yes,
The
yeah,
original one, they buried it deeply under King Solomon's temple, and
hmm,
it's protected with electromagnetic energy, so the radiation can't seep out from it, from inside of it.
right.
Because
That,
it's like a supersonic weapon, and it's also a device that can destroy planets. It
wow.
has vibrational fields. It could destroy a planet. It's not a huge device, but it's very powerful.
Hmm.
I remote viewed that Ark of the Covenant, and the Arks do different things.
Yep.
Part of a technology, it's not one unit, it's part of a technology that makes something bigger.
Hmm.
So the one in Israel, it can destroy planets.
Wow.
It works
It's,
with vibration and sound.
yeah, there's been lots of reports of the Ark of the Covenant over the years. I believe that when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt because they're being enslaved, and at one point they were like considered equals. Then when Ramses came in, he wanted to treat them as slaves. So I have memories of actually being with Moses, and he had one of the Arks of the Covenant that he took from because he was part of that group that was one of the priests that handled that Ark of the Covenant, and he basically stole it, and we were taking it, and that's why um, the um, Egyptians chased us, and then we used that as like you're talking about, part the seas, and then it was used as a weapon as well. So there's many stories of how other groups had gotten it, didn't know what they had, and like created, like you're talking about the radiation, which, and they even talk about it, how I can't remember the tribe that had stolen it, but it was like radiation. They just killed hundreds and thousands of them, and they're like, hey, get this thing and take it back, because we don't know what this is, and we're killing it. So there's lots of stories like that are out there. So that's amazing that you have, even as a little child, you're tapping into these abilities. And I work with a lot of affiliated women now. I do one-on-one coaching and stuff like that. And affiliated women are very, very powerful. So it doesn't surprise me that you're tapping into that. Why they wanted to like take you out before you could use your skills and help humanity. Beautiful.
Yeah, and the Ark of the Covenant, like the radiation, that doesn't pulse out on its own. You can program it to create radiation. So the device itself can be used for good or evil. It depends how you program that particular ark that's under Jerusalem.
Right. And that's interesting because there are many different devices, high tech devices that are like that, spaceships and looking glass technology and so forth, that are basically connected with source. And that source energy, like you're saying, can be used for evil or good. It depends on who has it, uh,
Yes.
how they're utilizing it. I think the good eventually overwhelms the bad, but it's it's there, it's available.
Yeah, that
What other experiences did you had while you're in, or if you want to talk about a little bit more, but what other experiences do you have while you're in Israel?
well, I remember walking through a forest with my dad, and this is at a dig site. Apparently, we stumbled on a dig site. It was an ancient mosque that was being unearthed,
Mm.
so kind of mosque church, ruins of it on the surface. And I remember seeing pottery, and I picked up this pottery jug, and it
Mhm.
had all these interesting Hebrew letters and images on it. And then the security guard comes up, female security guard comes up, and she's like, put that down. You can't be here. You're not authorized to be on this dig site. We were in the forest up in the mountains because we were on top of Jerusalem.
Oh
That's
yeah,
where we lived.
beautiful.
So this dig site was just 15 minutes away from our house.
Wow.
um yeah, and I was like looking at it, examining it. I didn't even see the security guard, and my dad's like, just put it down, just put it down. There's the security guard telling us we shouldn't be here. So that's the most memorable thing I remember, like seeing relics, ancient relics from, this is like the Holy Land stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how old it was, but it was pretty old. This jug was like big, this big.
yeah,
I
nice.
was holding it in my small little hands. So that's amazing.
So now, do you think that this is your first incarnation here, or have you had many incarnations here, or what do you feel?
I've had several incarnations here in Atlantis as well. I remember
Okay,
being a geneticist in Atlantis twice.
nice.
Um, and that's when they were doing, this was 2 million years ago, when they were doing the genetic experiments with ET human hybrids, creating different races to
Okay.
seed on this planet. And I remember Atlantis just being bombarded with 10 different races from above, from space,
Yeah.
with energy weapons, like just energy bolts, hitting us, hitting the outpost cities in Antarctica and on the rest of the continents,
Mm.
and just wiping us out. And our outposts had different ET beings on it, human ETs
Hmm.
that look humanoid, different skin colors, different races. We all work together.
Hmm.
But the technology was getting out of hand. The crystalline towers,
Yep.
they were starting to overpower them with too much energy
Hmm.
that powered all the grid lines. It was just becoming too powerful. They were getting ready to destroy the moon,
Hmm.
because the moon has labs on it
Hmm.
that, again, hold different vaults of information, genetic information for plants, animals, different beings
Mm.
inside the moon. That lab is inside the moon. It's a huge lab. So the Atlanteans wanted to destroy it because they thought that they were more powerful than what was on the moon. They didn't want anybody else to get a hold of the stuff on the moon.
Hmm.
Um, and the other ETs, the ones that were blasting us from space, didn't want the moon to be gone because it's here for a specific reason. It's
Hmm.
like an observatory watching us. There's beings that live on the moon.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't want that destroyed, and instead they destroyed the Atlanteans.
Wow.
And I
Yeah, I have
remember dying.
those crystalline towers and using crystals for healing and buildings and all kind of crazy stuff. And knowing that at one point they were going to use the crystalline energy structures and plants and stuff that we had for negative purposes, and actually being part of destroying them so that they couldn't have access to them. And then back then, I remember we had ETs openly amongst us.
Yes.
And I think in the near future, we're going to start to see that creep back in again, and then as we go forward, there'll be more and more ET involvement and interaction. Now they're pretty much cloaked, and we don't they're different ways they cook themselves, but in the future they'll be more out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, there's also different hybrids on this planet. There's werewolves, there's vampires, there's changelings. And they're all just walking among us. You
Yeah.
wouldn't even know because they're just human hybrids,
Mm-hmm.
either through viruses, made through viruses, or hybridization of different ET genetics.
Mm-hmm.
But they're considered human because they could just blend in with us. We wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah. Wow.
Or energetically, some of us can energetically sense it and even see their true form.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but some of them are changelings, so they could project any shape or form that they want. And you can only sense that energetically. Like if I see ETs, I see their true form and I sense them on the soul level. That's how my psychic ability works.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody is more than what they seem, I pick up on it.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I just pick, I've seen hybrid reptilians, and when they get pissed, their eyes start to slit or
Mm-hmm.
slit. So I've seen that several times. It's like a little disconcerting when you first see it. It's like, whoa, what was that? And then you're like, ah, another hybrid reptilian. Okay. So what finally brought you to Canada?
Uh, Honestly, as a blonde, little pasty white girl, I was almost stoned. So because there's different cultures in Israel.
Sure.
I'm not going to mention nationalities, but
Mm.
the kids, the darker skinned kids, would just almost killed me, almost stoned me with rocks in kindergarten
Uh-huh.
and grade one because I look different.
Yeah.
Like it's not normal to be as white, like very milky white skin. And I
Sure.
had blonder hair, like almost wheat blonde at the time. It's not now.
Mm-hmm.
But so I really stood out. So I was constantly attacked in the public school. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to a private school for the gifted kids,
Mm-hmm.
where I was taught English because they had counselors who were teachers, English teachers. So I was taught English, my math was improved, my reading, my writing was improved.
Nice.
And I just flourished for that last year that I was in the private school. But again, the biases against culture, because I'm not fully Jewish, I'm only 50% Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is 100% Jewish, so not being fully Jewish is you're not welcomed in all of the communities in Israel. Um, Plus, if I had stayed when I would have been 18, I would have had to go to the army, and my health is not wasn't the best even as a young kid. So my parents were really worried. They didn't want me to end up in the Israeli army
Yeah.
after high school because you go in straight. It's you. They don't. Men and women go in, so they don't
Yeah.
have just gender. It's like it's equal genders.
Yeah.
So my parents didn't want me to end up in the army.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the reasons why we moved to Canada in 1993.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point did you really start to wake up to the secret space program information?
I started to, well, there was Monarch Solutions as well before the secret space program stuff. And I started to wake up to the Monarch Solutions stuff when I was about 25. I remember when I was about 15, 16, having memories from when I was that age, at the age of 25, being taken out somewhere between the Sierra Nevada Madre Mountains,
Mm.
somewhere in the back of a log cabin
Mm-hmm.
where there's a forest, and being drowned in the hot tub, like literally being held underwater to see how long I could keep my breath before I would pass out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Monarch Solutions. And that's kind of the training prep before you do the SSP here on Earth.
Wow.
And just seeing bubbles in this hot tub, and just my head being held underwater, and them trying to drown me, and I would just hold my breath and hold my breath, and they couldn't kill me. Um, and Also opening portals naturally, psychically,
Mm.
like portal coordinates. Okay, you're in the forest behind the cabin. Now you need to go out of the forest and you need to go elsewhere. You open the portal, and you used your left hemisphere and right hemisphere of the brain somehow aligned. I remember them giving me drugs, so my both hemispheres would work the same.
Wow.
And that allowed me to open portals
Mm-hmm.
and go out from the forest and end up somewhere in California.
Impressive.
And then I had to open a portal, sustain it, walk through it, keep it open, and be back in the Sierra Madre Mountains
Mm-hmm.
beside that cabin. So I would say it's torture. It's like an initiation to break you down and build you up again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember being some kind of underground base as well, somewhere between California and the Sierra Madre Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And they have many CERN Collideron um, devices that can create earthquakes, that can create seismic activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a mini hadron collider.
Right. Hmm.
And I mapped this on the map. I have coordinates of this and of these locations.
Wow.
Because I went back later and remote viewed those locations
Mm-hmm.
for the exact coordinates, because I was always curious, where did I end up? Like, why was I in these facilities?
Yeah.
And the answer that I got from the remote viewing, it was to improve my psychic ability.
Hmm.
That's why I was in the underground bases where they have these mini hadron colliders.
So the energy in those areas was highlighting your own psychic abilities.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, very much so.
Huh.
And it had to do with portal travel and portal technology in those underground bases. They were using the hadron colliders for portal travel
Mm-hmm.
and to create black antimatter and to sustain that antimatter and use wormholes as
Yeah.
well
Right.
to open wormholes and they can keep them steady. They could actually open the wormholes and create portals through the wormholes with the mini hadron colliders.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes me think that there are people like you that are trained to do that are in some of the spacecraft and maybe some of the like military units that are actually going out in the field. Is that your impression?
Yeah, it is, because the super soldiers, right? The augmented with the nanotech super soldiers, they have partners. They have team partners who open the gates for them and they go in. And
Wow.
like, I never was a partner to anybody, but those are memories that I have
Mm-hmm.
of teams being like that. Where one person is the anchor, they open the portal psychically, and
Yeah.
then the super soldiers go in, team of 6 or 8, they go in with the anchor and they're somewhere else. That could be on any planet that's habitable. And they have smart suits.
Yep.
So basically, it's nanotech smart suits. Some of them are skin thin to the skin. Some
Yep.
of them are heavier, and some people even have mech suits on.
Yeah.
And it allows you to breathe because you have a helmet, you have the smart suit, you have the helmet, and you have the boots that have boosters on them, so you could levitate even or jump
Mm-hmm.
very high when you run. You start running and you jump. So there's a few different types of smart suits, and there's also smart suits for deep diving. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I also do hypnosis. So I did a regression for someone who actually wore the underwater deep diving smart suits.
Wow.
And they had kind of like a propeller device that helped to propel them quickly to underwater bases on another planet.
Incredible.
So yeah.
Yeah,
That,
I have memories of different types of smart suits, depending on the mission, whether it was a reconnaissance or whether you're going into battle. Um, like um, the suit itself, if you were wounded somehow, it applied medications, helped to
mhm.
still you, and blood clotting agent, all kind of crazy stuff, and then maybe some uh, morphine or whatever. And I'm saying morphine, but it's the drugs that are far more advanced, in that program, and more effective and more like concentrated into certain areas. Instead of affecting the whole body, it will just go to a damaged area and work on that.
Mhm.
I remember being wounded many times, and because of those suits, because they release, certain chemicals and stuff to, heal you, or at least keep you healed enough so that you can continue your mission and keep fighting. There's a lot of those. And then heavy suits that had all kinds of different, um, weapon systems within them. So yeah, lots of different types of suits. And I remember coming in them from behind and getting into them, and then they like just it just seals up around you. It's almost like
Mhm.
it's a smart suit that has some kind of consciousness that knows you, and it's perfectly fit for you, and works at one with you. So crazy stuff like that. And I've heard other people talk about it, but I feel like I have a little bit deeper insight in some of that. And
Yeah.
so did you ever do regressions yourself? Did anyone ever regress you?
I actually regressed myself.
Yeah,
I've done many regressions, and that's what all my presentations are based on, my earlier presentations.
yeah,
Um, it would be interesting if somebody regressed me
yeah.
formally. I do, I'm very careful about who I let work with me.
Hmm.
So, and I wouldn't mind if somebody did, but I did most of my own regression really.
Yeah.
Um, and there's no bias in the regression that I did because I can backtrack. I had Neuralink implants in my brain, 4 implants that are energetic with ET symbols on them.
Mm.
They were injected in my neck. It's small, like nanotechnology, and it goes up to your brain, left side of my brain. It unfurls, and it has a power center, an energy power center. There
Mhm.
was 4 of these in my brain that were linked to my neurons and my axons.
Wow.
And it enhanced my psychic ability. It let me telepathically interact with other SSP assets on the Mars bases that had the Neuralink implants. It allowed me to remotely pilot ships,
Yeah.
tap into the navigation systems, pilot ships. It allowed me to tap into the holographic databases
Mm-hmm.
in the cybernetics labs where I worked in on the Mars bases under Planetary Corp.
Hmm.
It also allowed me to be able to scan a person's body and to see diseases, to see mutations, and to see if somebody's genetic makeup had been altered with augmentation, and if they didn't belong on the base, if they were a plant, if they were a changeling or a clone,
Hmm.
or somebody who'd been planted to spy on us. So this is what my Neuralink implants allowed me to do, as well as upload and download huge amounts of data, literally to teach me to do any type of work. Because I worked in cybernetics labs as a you could call me a cybernetics tech. Um, so I wouldn't be physically trained by somebody else to do a job. I would just take an upload to my implants, and they would teach me how to do anything medically,
Hmm.
how to create biological human cyborgs, how to implant them with Neuralink implants or any other nanite tech, build smart suits, and work with the holographic medical pods as an end user. I don't know any of the schematics. I don't know how to build them, but I was just the end user to program the info, how to heal somebody. If somebody has an injury, regrow body parts, regrow organs, heal the injury, program that into the holographic interface and
Mm.
just watch the work being done,
Wow.
monitor it from another room in the cybernetics lab.
And that's kind of stuff you see coming soon, that type of technology, or is that a little too advanced for what we're going to get in the near?
Well, when I was on the cybernetics labs, they told me that that tech wouldn't come to us for 200 to 300 years. The
Mm.
holographic medical pods. That's what I was
Wow.
told then.
Yeah, yeah,
So they never wanted that out on
yeah,
Earth
yeah.
because Planetary Corp is about advancing, getting the latest technology, advancing it, and keeping it for themselves.
Mm. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
don't.
there's corporations in space too that are running a lot of stuff. If I think once that's found out by a lot of people, they'll understand, what, and even here on Earth, I've seen a lot of like ultra high tech stuff in my career. It was way more advanced than anything I've seen yet to come out. Even though I'm removed from Navy SEAL teams and the CIA for 6 years now, so there's a lot of tech that's coming our way. Uh, I think they want to trickle it down, but I think it's going to come a lot faster than uh, than what they've been saying or what we've been getting so far. Like um, like the iPads that we have in the space are like connect neurally with you and all kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Now, have you had any of those implants? Have they ever been discovered? Because I know some
Mm.
people actually, not some, but a lot of people have discovered implants. Uh, they get them taken out, and they're like crazy looking. It's like what just came out of me, So it's like it's totally some kind of high tech thing. It's got like tendrils and all kind of crazy stuff, and it was causing some problems. So they like excised it, and they're like, what is that? The doctors don't even know, and they come
Um,
and they take that real quick and shut it down, so people don't know, they never get to see it again.
yeah, mine were etheric Neuralink implants,
Okay,
undetectable by MRI, undetectable by anything on Earth.
absolutely.
It's more frequency based, so it had a power, some kind of an energetic power core
Hmm.
that powered all four of them, and it had nano gold fibers connected to the neurons and the axons. Now, I have a rare genetic disease called hemiplegic migraine, so it's a stroke-like disorder
Hmm.
where my body gets paralyzed and I have a horrible migraine with aura. And I've had several MRIs done. And when these Neuralink implants started to leak the nanofiber gold, it was detected that I had white matter lesions on the left side of my brain, right where those implants were.
Wow.
So I had to do psychic surgery on myself to excise these implants etherically to get them
Yeah,
removed.
incredible.
And then I had every year I had an MRI, and eventually when I started to do the plasma therapy, and I got that information from my own hypnosis.
Mhm.
Because when I was working in the cybernetics labs on Mars, I worked on developing different plasma antigens, plasma therapies that could heal the autoimmune system. It could heal neurological disorders, brain disease. So I got the idea of, well, is there an equivalent of this on Earth? On Mars, it's called biological drug serums. Here, it's just called plasma therapy. I do the subcutaneous immunoglobulin therapy because my autoimmune system, I was never allowed to fully repair it. I could never use the holographic medical pod. So I used the biological drug serums on myself that I synthesized in the replicators. I didn't need to use blood product on Mars. Here, it's taken from blood product, it's separated, and
Mhm.
it's pure human donated plasma from other people that I infuse into myself subcutaneously every week.
Wow.
And it keeps me healthy.
Hmm.
It kept me healthy on Mars. It was much better up there because I could infuse large dosages dermally into myself, but here into my stomach, I can't infuse so much because it's painful and it hurts. So I found a stable dosaging schedule that I do, and it keeps me alive. Other people's human plasma helps me to survive.
Excellent.
Hmm.
So the etheric stuff, I'm familiar with that as well because I do healing like that myself. I can see problems that people have. It could be from past lifetimes, and I go in and heal that etherically. So it doesn't have to be something that's physically manifest, but it's causing problems
Hmm.
this time and this reality. So
Yeah.
you kind of go in there, sense what that is, and heal that process by changing some of the cellular structure and
Yeah.
going back in time and healing the problems that were there. And it's very interesting because it does work. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do it a lot, and people that are like to the point of dying, uh, I go in and do some of this work, and it actually has an effect. Or they've had problems for a long time. I've healed myself, some
Hmm.
serious. I had my kneecap shattered. They said I wouldn't walk normal again, and I ended up, within 6 months running again. So it's it's something that we can all do.
Yeah.
Uh, and you trained obviously very well in it. So so you started having these memories come through. Absolutely fascinating. All the stuff that you've been involved in. It's similar to some of the stuff I have memories of and stuff that I can actually do now. Did any of the things that you have connected with from the secret space program kind of filter into this reality? And also, do you think you're still in the secret space program on another, like maybe a piece of you there, or are you completely removed from that?
I decided to be fully removed from that.
Okay.
But if I want to see something or participate in a mission, I always have an invite to come in again.
Wow.
Um,
That's that's cool.
yeah. And what I know as evidence, so the implants, the Neuralink implants that I had in my brain, it's spelled Neurolink. So Elon Musk has Neuralink, Neuralink, Neuralink. The preface is almost the same, except these are like physical implants with a
Hmm.
microchip and the tendrils that attach to your neurons and your axons.
About that, yeah.
So it's supposed to help with synthetic telepathy. It's supposed to help you with increased memory. It's supposed to also help to cure neurological diseases. And if there's amputees, vets, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's supposed to help with the prosthetics to connect to their nerves and
Yeah,
neurons in the hands or the arms to connect with the prosthetics,
yeah.
which is more now, instead of mechanical, it's more computerized and it has connections
Hmm.
to your nerves in your body. So it could pick up, there's sensors on the prosthetics that could pick up your electrical signals.
Hmm.
If it's attached to your hip, if it's attached to your arm, if you have a missing arm and it's connected here,
Hmm.
it's connected to it has sensors and it's connected to your body, to
Interesting.
their to your brain signals. So these Neuralink implants from Elon Musk are supposed to help with the prosthetics to make it an easier connection to the brain and to the prosthetic with the implant. If people have Alzheimer's, it's supposed to help to retain your memory and not lose your memory.
Wow.
Um, Paraplegics help them walk, maybe, or speech assistance if somebody has so much brain damage they can't really speak. It's supposed to connect to a computer data pad so you can type and you don't have to use a clunky computer anymore to do that.
Interesting. So there's been a lot of people that have been talking about how they feel that that's going to be misused. Because I don't personally, I don't see a problem with it if it's used for that. But if there's like some kind of little sketchy stuff that goes in there, of course, there's always that possibility, unfortunately, in this day and time. But I think as we move forward, a lot of that stuff is going to not happen anymore, where everything is basically infiltrated by a negative side and used for negative purposes. So I think that's going to be some of the future that really comes through that's positive. Other things that I see, um, because we regrow our limbs,
Mm-hmm.
they're reconfigured if they're blown off and stuff. Uh, I see that being something that's going to come out here. I would say soon, but at some point in the future, where that technology is going to come through again. So those amputees and not just the vets, but a lot of people lose limbs for different
Mm-hmm.
reasons.
Yeah.
And I see in the future that that technology would come out and help us.
Yeah, like replicators and
Right.
3D printers that could grow organs, can grow body parts. That's kind of what it's going to look like. I don't think it's going to be in the form of a holographic medical pod that you get into and it just grows it within 30 minutes. So
Wow.
I think it's going to be like laser, like it's going to be like a med bed with
Yeah.
a circular ring that
Huh.
scans your body
Right.
and finds what's missing. Like if it's your arm, it's going to scan your genetic imprint and it's going to use lasers to literally regenerate your arm and
Wow.
build it up.
Wow.
So that's kind of the
Like a
first
3D printer
prototype.
type thing. Yeah. But
Yeah,
with
that's
live tissue.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
That's a 3D printer and it's going to be specifically designed for regenerating and regrowing organs.
Incredible. So yeah,
Mhm.
that seems really far fetched because you're looking at bone, and not just the tissue, but bone and nervous system, the vascular system. So that's a lot of stuff that has to be regenerated. But I, I, it's been done. I have memories of it being done. Now, I remember
Yeah.
being in the tank and it being regenerated in a tank, almost like a salamander regrows its limb. Um,
Hmm.
that sounds really cool. The 3D printer type stuff.
Yeah, what you were in was a regeneration tank with some kind of a fluid in it. It could be
Right.
green, it could be different fluids
Yep.
are designed
Remember
to
different colors. Yep.
yeah, to regrow different things to regenerate their nervous system. So it's not just for regrowing body parts, it could be used for regrowing um, brain connections.
Hmm. Interesting.
So those are called regeneration tanks, or for short, regen tanks. We've had some of those in the cybernetics labs as well.
Hmm.
Um, I never wanted to get into it. I never wanted to feel like I was floating in liquid.
Yeah. And I remember some of the people. I always liked it because I've always loved the water. I come from a water planet. From I was Sirius B. That's my memories. But and I still have like a soul imprint there that's higher dimensional. So it's kind of cool. You have that connection. But the dolphin people and all that kind of stuff. So I've always been like really in, like when I swam, dolphins show up. And
Mhm.
I remember as a Navy SEAL, we'd swim in and the dolphins would show up and I'd kind of like, they chirp and stuff and I'd chirp back to them and they follow us all the way in. So, um, you know, I liked it, but there were people that had a problem with it. I don't know if you've heard of JC Case, a psychic in Australia. She was on my show one time and she asked me, I had a lot of people that tell me that I went to secret space program, and it was like, boom. I was like, yeah, you were. I have memories of you being in the tank, regenerating your left leg. She says, oh, my left leg. That I've had problems with that for a long time, and always feels like it's longer than what it really is, and my hip and all kind of stuff. I was like, wow, I couldn't have thought that up. So she said that she was in the tank one time and she wanted out of it, and they're like, no, you can't get out. She has memories of this, and they're like,
Mhm.
no, you have to stay in, you're not done yet. It's like,
Yeah.
wow. So these memories are coming through for more and more of us. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the liquid suspends you. So you're
Yes.
just floating,
Yep.
you're just floating there in the middle of it. And you have to wait until what they're doing is finished, the work that
Right.
they're doing, whatever the liquid is, that's either, I think the green liquid was for regenerating limbs, for growing limbs.
Okay.
That's predominantly what I remember us using, the green liquid
Interesting.
or the green goo, if you want to call it that,
Okay.
because some of it was thicker and more viscous, and some of it was thinner, like liquid, but green. So it even had different thickness consistencies to it, depending on what it had to do. And I don't know how to swim. To this day, I couldn't learn how to swim properly.
Hmm.
So floating in a body of water is not my idea of feeling comfortable
Yeah.
even to this day. But I'm picking up something. Did you ever have SSP experiences on the moon of Io?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And it's
Yes.
specifically too. That's good. You picked that up.
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
something with the ground shaking, something with terraformation. You
Yep.
were in a heavy suit.
Mhm.
mech suit, defense of it, and some natural resources like heavy ores there
Yeah.
that you were protecting and defending. Something underground, there's some kind of a system of networks
Yeah.
that have energetic technology there as well
Mhm.
for deep space communication.
Yeah.
So you were there on a mission for all of those things.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I have fairly um good memories of that, you know, being at war with what I call them the rock men, and fighting them and going underground. And that was one of the times where I had this side of my head blown off, and my team pulling me out and getting me back so I could regenerate and keep my soul, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that you're connecting with some stuff. So have you heard of this one? I guess there's a um, uh, regressionist in Australia. I guess
Mary Rodwell?
yeah. Have you? I guess you have heard of her. I was thinking about maybe contacting her and getting regressed because she's more specific on the SSP people and has done a lot of them. Would know the types of questions to ask and stuff like that.
Mm. I interviewed her.
Nice. Okay.
Well,